Looking to transform your family game nights? At Perfectly Picked Games, we specialize in family games that bring everyone closer. Our games aren't just fun. Kids and teens will learn how to take turns, develop basic strategy skills, and understand the thrill of winning and grace of losing. With our exclusive gift of games, you can give months of gaming excitement to your family. Choose a 3-month or 6-month gift, and we'll deliver hand-picked family games to your doorstep every month. And here's the best part. Right now, you can use the promo code GOLDENMOJO and receive 20% off your selected plan. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Use promo code GOLDENMOJO and save 20% today at Perfectly Picked Games.
Welcome to the United States of Paranormal Podcast. Sit down and buckle up for an enlightening ride through everything cryptid, creepy, and paranormal.
Hello, all of my paranormal freaks out there. It is I, Golden Jay, hanging out with
the Rocker Chick.
And today we are a J-dublessness. But taking over her spot today is Bob.
Oh, are you pointing at me?
I'm pointing at you. Just you're going to get his last name right and I'm going to fuck it up. Because that's what I do.
I'm just going to say it.
Who's going to say it?
Bob is.
No, Dwight.
Dwight is. You're talking to me.
I call her Bob all the time. It just kind of came out. It's short for Bobby. I was like, hey, Bob, I'm off to the bathroom or,
Call me Bob ever.
Ever. Apparently I did tonight. Whatever. We got Dwight Snethen. Yeah, I was
Snethen.
Oh, see, I knew I was going to screw it up.
Oh my God.
He said it to me 5 times before we started recording, and I still got it wrong.
Oh, wow.
Dwight, I'm so sorry.
You got to edit all that out.
No, I'm
You're like
leaving
the
it all
first
in
person
there.
ever to get my name wrong, right?
Oh my gosh. I called you Bob with no
Well, that
last
part threw
name.
me. Yeah. The Bob part threw me.
For the rest of the night, we call him Bob, just for shits and giggles. Dwight, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with us here at the United States Paranormal. For those, we've talked about you a lot over the last few months since we were able to go down to Fowler, Indiana, and get the opportunity to go through the Benton County Jail and the Fowler Theatre with you as pretty much our guide. And we had a blast. We had so much fun being down there with you guys. And what an amazing experience, and what a beautiful theater. I still, to this day, tell everybody how beautiful that theater is and how much your guys' restoration of that is amazing, really. I mean, it's gorgeous, and we love being there.
Well, thank you. It's great to hear.
But we do have the bad news, and we've talked about it. We put up the link for the petition on our website. We talked about it on our show. We put it up on our Facebook, and you guys had a relatively good turnout for that petition. Would you guys just slightly under 1,000, or was it more than that?
Slightly under 1,000, yes.
Right on. So you guys had a good turnout on the petition, but
in the end, we weren't convincing enough. So we had about 1,000 signatures. We had quite a few from the state of Indiana. We had them from really all over the globe, literally. Right. Quite a few from the community, and we had support from Indiana Landmarks. So they're a big nonprofit organization within Indiana that really helps to try and preserve and restore historic landmarks. They were the ones we worked with for the Fowler Theatre when we restored it, and they awarded us a grant for bringing in an architect to evaluate the jail. Everything just felt like we had a good case. I will say that we had a good case. They said architecturally speaking, it's in solid shape. It's in better shape than some of the buildings that are currently in use as businesses today. Even said it was probably in better shape than parts of the courthouse.
Wow.
The main thing is it needed a new roof and some leak repair done. It needed more than that over time, but that was the main thing that needed to be done to save it. Once that was in place, then our plan internally was to bring in resources. I have met tons and tons of people in the paranormal community. A lot of them have trade skills. A lot of them have 2 legs and a heartbeat.
Right.
They were all, willing to come in and help. We've done community cleanups of the jail. I mean, it was in worse shape than what you saw, because we went through and actually took out lots of trash. We cleaned up things as much as we could. So we were expecting to work out some sweat equity deal, come and help us out, get an investigation, become a part of it, with a long-term plan of ideally keeping it a facility that can be used for ghost hunting as well as other purposes. So we've seen places where they restored a jail and they put in a restaurant, or they turned it into a museum or a visitor center. So we had a lot of ideas that we wanted to pursue. We met with the commissioners. It was pretty much, it was obvious that they wanted the land, and the money to go toward preserving it was not going to be what their intent was. So it is scheduled to come down this summer to probably in the fall time frame. Their plan is to tear it down and build a storage shed for some needs that the sheriff's department has and the county has. We threw out alternatives, like take the road that's in between the courthouse and the old jail, extend the jail, the current jail, out into that space, build on it, build around the jail. But in the end, it was not within our control.
Now, okay, so I read some of the stuff that you guys, and I'm trying to remember if it was something you guys shared or if it was just something I come across, but it was like almost like the transcripts or just kind of the breakdown of the hearing that you guys went to. And I say this all due respect, but do you think that they had their mind made up long before you guys walked in there with an alternative plan for that space?
Yes. I think they were, and I will give the current commissioners a little bit of breathing room, because they got elected they got elected after the decision was made. And so, but I think that, they wanted the land. They didn't want to maintain the building any longer. I felt like we have the ability, we have the capability to make it continue running for longer, especially once the architect said it's in solid shape. My biggest fear from say the nonprofit that owns the theater, if we would have tried to take this on, my big fear is we take it on, then it is $100,000 to tear it down, and we basically wipe out 2 buildings.
Right.
And we're clear that we weren't in a position necessarily to do that, but we were in a position to help manage it. But when the architects came back and basically said, this is a solid building, then it was like, okay, not that the theater would necessarily take over it, but there were people in the community that were interested in maybe even buying it. And no matter what we threw out there, different ideas, different approaches, it was decided to tear it down. And I think that was just the plan all along.
Right. Yeah, that's what I got from what I read, just by what they were, just how it came about and how it felt from what they were saying and different stuff, that it didn't matter what alternatives you could give them to save it. They'd already had their mind made up, and it was going to come down.
I think so I will tell you, we didn't give up. We didn't publish this out because it was just something we tried. We researched actually what it would cost to move the jail. There have been cases where buildings have been restored and moved to another location, and the price tag came into like $200,000 to $300,000 to move it just one block.
Oh, wow.
And so now we've tripled what the cost would have been just to save it.
Right.
So we ended up, like I said, we weren't going to quit, but we kind of had to throw in the towel at that point.
And that's fair. I mean, yeah, because I think that I think Brian had said something to me about you guys were looking into moving it, and I thought that was admirable to a certain extent, and now I understand that it 3 times what it would cost just to maintain it where it was at was, yeah, that's a little rough, buddy. That's a little rough to call good.
Well, I increased my lottery playing, but it didn't help.
Well, we are sad that that in my mind that historical building in Fowler, Indiana, is no longer going to be.
Right.
And I say that because we were lucky enough to be in it and still see all the history that's still inside of it. So, are you guys going to do something with all that stuff that's inside of there? You guys got a plan for that, or is it just going to kind of be kind of boxed up? And
so that's our emergency weather alarm going off.
okay,
Let me see what's going on.
okay, cool.
Okay, severe thunderstorm warning. Not quite ready to run to the center of the house.
No.
There's no basement. Yeah,
Bathtub.
that'd be a hell of a rating getter, wouldn't it? We saw the Fowler blow up.
You ain't gonna believe what happened.
I better knock on wood.
Yeah, I'll knock for you right there. There you go.
So I have a relationship with the sheriff. I've known him. We work together. He used to be the sheriff at Purdue University where I work. So I've known him a long time. And I genuinely feel he was torn because he's a sheriff. He's a history buff. He wants to do what he can, but he also has a commitment to the community and the county. So he's really leading that charge of preserving everything. They've started taking out books and pictures and things to move them either to the current jail and courthouse location or to the Historical Society here in town. I did bring up, and they had already planned on this, the cornerstone of the building has the original 3 commissioners' names etched in the actual limestone. So that's going to be a corner piece of what's left. So there is a plan to preserve what's there. I will say that I left with a few bricks that are on the inside. Just I have my own little memory.
Right.
Might be haunted. I haven't tried to check.
Hey,
it out.
there, you better put a bit down. Put a piece of equipment on that bad boy.
Yeah.
So some of that is basement area, like underground. Will they destroy all that too, or will they just build on top of that?
That's a good question. My understanding, they have this. Well, the boogeyman that was created was the mold. The mold is very easily removed. But it's the kind of mold that on concrete or hard, like stone like that, you just clean it off. It's not like it's in plaster drywall where it's like embedded and it gets, dangerous.
Right.
So there's a possibility they could save that part of it. But I got the impression the whole thing was going to be torn down and filled in.
Yeah, I guess I would love for them to build on top of it and preserve the dungeon, so to speak, that area that's way down there. But I mean, I don't see why. I don't see why you couldn't. But like you said, if they're in the aspect of the quote unquote mold that's there, which I didn't really feel. Usually when I get around stuff like that, I can kind of sense it and feel it and kind of get uncomfortable around it. But I never felt uncomfortable down there at all. So
I'd been in and out of there since 2020 and probably 2019. And I've got mold and grass allergies. And I'm still, as you can tell, I'm still here.
Right.
So it wasn't as bad as what it was made out to be.
Right.
It was just easy to say, well, there's mold in there. Well, mold can be bad. We all know black mold is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the kind of mold you bring in the right equipment, the right cleaning material, and you can just get rid of it.
Right. Well, and to boot, if they take the top layer off and take the upper part off, it gets easier access to get any of it sprayed down and out of there. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. Why they wouldn't take that extra step just to preserve something from the old jail.
Yeah.
Anyway, so once again, we know how much you love that place and how much effort and time and all that you put in. And we definitely feel sorry that it didn't go through and you weren't able to save it. And that we are as heartbroken as you are, because being our first real investigation that we ever went on, being that place, it definitely holds a place in our heart. So we are so sorry that it didn't pan out on the good side, but.
And it was a big part of what we've built up in terms of our paranormal experience and offerings in the town. I've spent many hours, many overnight investigations hosting people, sub-zero temperatures, sweltering hot nights, my own money. I've got 3 window air units in my shed that I was going to put in there. Now I've got to find a home for those. I'll probably donate it maybe to the family or something. So there was a personal stake in this as well, that, this was some out of pocket for me and a little bit of money from the theater to just try and preserve what we could, knowing that it was going to take some substantial money to replace the roof.
Right. Well, you made a comment. So, okay, I'm going to break away from the jail a little bit. You made a comment, and as I was stalking you on the internet,
You're the one.
I am the one. There was another one, but I booted her out. I don't know. She seemed crazy, but your name come up under Purdue University. I thought maybe a student, but you said in a comment earlier that you worked for Purdue.
Yes.
For a while. What did you do down there?
So I work at Purdue now. I've been there for 19 years.
Okay.
And I am over a lot of IT folks. So my teams do desktop support, lab classroom support, help desk support for the university system.
Right on. 19 years at Purdue, huh?
Yeah. Got my degree there, found my wife, met my wife there. I didn't find her. It wasn't like, look, hey, there's one.
It's like, let's see. Well, it is a big campus.
Yeah. She found me, actually.
Oh, she hunted you down. So she was the other one's Facebook or internet stalking you. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't dig too deep into that because there's a lot of things going on that you're involved in. We're going to talk about here over the next hour or so that I do want to kind of talk about. So, but that was one of them. I was really intrigued with why Purdue kept popping up around your name. So now I know.
Now you know.
All right. So not only are you employed with Purdue University, but you are also on the board. Let me get this right. The Preservation Guild,
Prairie Preservation Guild.
Prairie Preservation Guild. You are on the board. Are you the president? Did I understand that you're the president of the board?
Yeah, I'm the current president. We run, I forget, it's like 4-year terms, and then you can be reelected.
Right on.
I don't have all the perks of the, president.
You can't just start writing bills, is what you're saying. But the PPG is actually a big part of the restoration of the Fowler. Am I on track for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was basically formed when the theater I don't know if you want me to go into the history because that kind of leads into the Prairie Preservation Guild.
Absolutely. You let's do this.
Okay. So just to kind of start from the very beginning, the theater was built in 1940. Prior to it being built, there was a hotel in that area. They tore down the eastern third of the hotel to build the theater. I always like to point that out because we know that we have our own paranormal history at the theater, but we also are sitting on top of what could be some hotel paranormal history.
Right on.
There's not a lot of knowledge or information about it. We have some photos. But anyway, it was built in that location. Oddly enough, right next door was the Dreamland Theater. The manager of the Dreamland Theater wanted his own theater. So Dick Velastos, he left that theater and had basically bought this one and had it built. So Dick had that theater for about 9 years. And then he and his family moved to California. I think he owned it some during that period of time, still came back from time to time. But after that, it changed hands, different families, up until the 1990s when it really started to kind of fall apart. They stopped showing movies on a regular basis. And in 1999, and I like telling this story, Karen Moyers, she was a member of the community. She was walking across the street, 5th Street, and she had noticed that there was a big, no, not a bulldozer, but some equipment over there, and they were working on the theater. Somebody was up in a lift, and they were actually getting ready to cut the marquee down, and they were going to get rid of the marquee. So the story is she literally ran across the road, asked the owner, how much do you want for the theater? And they agreed on a price, $30,000, I think it was. And so then she went home. She told her husband, and she said, Don, we bought a theater. So, but then she met with like an accountant or CPA or somebody, and they worked out the creating the Prairie Preservation Guild. So it's a nonprofit 501c3, and that's what started the PPG. So the PPG actually owns and operates the theater. But when I'm no longer a board member or I've gone on to do other things, it's still there. It's still in place. So there's not one person that owns it that could, I shouldn't say I couldn't make or break it, but, I don't have that control. I don't have that ownership. And, I think that makes it's rather unique in that way because it's all volunteer run. It's all nonprofit owned. The town doesn't own it. The community, we try to make ourselves, sorry, the storm's picking up a little bit. Try to make ourselves a piece of the community and within Fowler and beyond. So it's just trying to wear all these multiple hats. We're a business. We're a nonprofit. We're a safe place to go, whatever you want to say. But so I'm rambling now.
Now, does besides the theater, does the PPG have investments in other places in Fowler then too, or is it just mainly the theater?
It's mainly the theater, and mostly because we really don't have the time or finances or capacity to take on anything else. It was talked about with the jail, but we knew that financially, we're struggling every year just to keep theater doors open.
Right.
Because there are, we're doing a fundraiser right now to repair the roof. Well, people don't realize that when you're talking about a historic landmark, commercial type building, the roof isn't just like what I did on my, mudroom out here.
Right.
It is now, it's a rubber roof. It takes certain kind of professionals to put that in. It's a $50,000 repair. We don't have $50,000 laying around, but we are partnering with the Benton Community Foundation, Benton County. So you got me messing on words. The Benton County Community Foundation, and they're doing a matching program. So if we raise $25,000, they'll match $25,000.
Nice.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, that was my thing because when we were there, and even kind of in the whole motion of everything in our brain, I just kept thinking that you owned it. And because you are such a presence there with the operations of, I don't know, I'm going to say day to day. I know it's not like open every day, but the day to day stuff, and just the fact of you are so knowledgeable of the theater itself, it just felt like that it was yours. I mean, oh, well, Dwight owns it. So, but as I did research and listen to a couple of, listened to at least one other pod and read some articles that you have done, I was like, no, he doesn't. He is part of this, part of this guild, the PPG, and he's pretty much, volunteering his time to go in there and handle it and take care of it, to preserve it, which I think is important. So you just said you're doing a fundraiser for the roof. Do you have a link to what are we doing as a fundraiser? I guess I should ask that.
So people can donate in any way that they like. If you go to www.fowlertheatre.com, but you can actually learn more about the theater, and you can donate there. We also have Facebook, Instagram, and X, the social media presence on all of those. We're on LinkedIn as well. And the people can mail it in. So our address is up there. We have a donate button, so you can actually donate online. And we're promoting it through social media. Start hearing some radio spots. The radio spots are going to be mostly about the theater, but we can, have information there. So it's, we're trying to hit all the avenues that we can.
Right. And that is wait, I wrote it down. That is FowlerTheatre.com.
Yes.
Listen, guys, I was there. And not only do you have all the information about the theater and the paranormal stuff, the tours, but I do believe you have a link to your YouTube page, right? on there, so you can go and watch the videos that Dwight puts up from the security cameras and the different things that are going on, the investigations, the talk boxes, and all the stuff that he's been in there doing in this investigation inside of the theater, because the theater's a pretty big hotspot.
Yeah. We've been running cameras since 2018. We got a grant for some security cameras, and it was a win-win. We had security cameras, and we could actually now run cameras 24/7.
Right.
So there's a lot of video footage up there. The things we've just captured, motion light goes on, something goes out. So, but we also had a lot of footage from different paranormal groups. They'll share the information with us, and if they put it up on their page, we'll share their information. They'll send us footage. The big thing that we like to do is, if you come and investigate at the theater, you own that time, you own that experience, and you own the footage. If you tell me at 6:05 there's something happened behind the stage, I'll download that and send it to you. I'm not going to price gouge you or whatever. We try to keep the pricing reasonable.
Right.
All money that we do collect goes right back into historic preservation. Nobody gets paid for that. That's all volunteer. It's the same people that volunteer at the theater. So some of us might work a movie at 7 and go home at 3. Yeah. But
right.
and then back to our full-time job on Monday.
I know that when we were there, that's what we did. We went, it was the Beetlejuice premiere at the Fowler, and you guys had a packed house, which was awesome. And we kind of, while you kind of cleaned up and finished up what you were doing, we headed down to the jail, but and then you joined us down there, and then we were able to come back. Can you tell us, I mean, I know that I caught orbs when I was in there, and we caught a figure on the SLS dancing on the stage. Can you tell us some more of some of the other things that you have come across while investigating the theater?
Yeah, I would say that most of the stuff that I'm going to tell you about, we've got on video, not everything. My first experience, though, the first time I closed after a movie, I was putting some stuff away. I was behind the door in the office, and I hear a noise outside the office door. I go out, and a light fixture that screws up into the ceiling was laying on the floor. I thought that was kind of odd. So next day I said something to the director, Jill, and she goes, that was probably one of our ghosts. And I'm like, what ghosts? And that just kind of got me realizing that there's all these reports of the paranormal. Then we met a group that was doing some ghost hunting. Basically, we brought them in to see if we had actual ghosts, see if it was actually haunted. And they'd gone in a couple of times, and 765 Paranormal, which I'm also a member of. There's not much left of us, but they came in, and they really didn't have any experience the first 2 times. Then the third time, they were kind of like, I think we're just going to tell them we didn't really get anything. They caught a shadow figure. They opened the bathroom door, and the faucet was on. Just everything just kind of went off the hook for them. So I started asking them a bunch of questions. They invited me to join their team. We started doing public investigations. So we opened up to the general public, had people come in, would teach them how to use equipment. Still no cameras, but we had handhelds and things like that. We started capturing more and more. One of the very first things we caught was before we had the security cameras. There were some people behind the stage, and there were 2 people in the auditorium, and I was in the concession area. And this is one of the videos that's uploaded. And you hear a little kid's voice call out. One of the women says, what was that? People in the auditorium said, oh, we don't know. We think it came from the concession area. I was by myself. There were no little kids up there. I didn't hear anything. So that was the first instance that we had. It was about a year later when we had the security cameras, and we were opening it now to paranormal groups. We had a group out of Chicago. They were behind the stage. They came up to talk to me. We're at the concession. They're telling me like they saw a stick figure that appeared to be hanging from the ceiling. And they're asking me questions about, was there a hanging? And there's no proof of one, but there's urban legend. So we don't have proof of that. So it's kind of interesting how those start to come together. Next day or 2, they send me a video clip while we're talking in the concession area. You can hear us. Their camera on the landing picks up a little boy calling out for his mom.
Oh.
And it sounds almost exactly the same as the voice we caught a year prior. So we've got voices. We get knocks. We get knocks in the concession area. We've seen shadow figures. One of the first, what I'll say, like, I don't say what the rest of them weren't solid, but it was my own personal experience. We did a documentary on the theater. I met the director up there. We walked into the theater together, so he's with me the whole time. And we are standing outside of the concession area. He's telling me how he and 765 Paranormal the week before were getting some final footage for the documentary. He's standing in, you know where the men and women's restroom is. He's standing with his back to the men's restroom. He's telling me the story, and he visually is showing me that Justin went to push open the door. And before he could say the water is running, I yell out, the water is running. There was no water coming out of the faucet when we got there. And in that course of that time, it started, and the handle was straight out. It wasn't like there was a leak or anything.
Right.
It was not running, and then it was. So we thought that was pretty darn cool. We went ahead and previewed the documentary. He left. I'm locking up. I'm upstairs, and I hear a noise. And I call out, hello. I don't hear anything. No response. So I thought, well, maybe like a board member had come in while I was upstairs. I go home. I go, hey, wait, we got security cameras. Let's check this out. I go and listen to all the cameras, and I hear nothing on any of the cameras except for me calling out hello, except for in the office. I call out hello, and then you hear a woman's voice say, someone's here. And I am all alone. So it's things like that, whistling. We get whistling quite regularly. We've got footage of people, like there's a gentleman standing in front of the concession area, and you can hear two women talking. They're in the behind the concession counter. You hear whistling. He looks left and right. And he goes and checks around the corner. There was nobody there, but you can hear it on the camera. Somebody whistling. The creepiest experience for my wife. We were working during COVID. We had these walkie-talkie radios. We did that so we could say, we have this many seats available because we had to do social distancing, etc. She has a radio. I have a radio. And then there's one in the concession area turned off. She pops out of the ticket booth and said, did somebody call me on the radio? Like, no, it wasn't us. So I go outside because I thought, well, maybe somebody's messing with her outside with their own radio. I come walking in, and the camera comes across the camera, and on her radio, you hear Michelle, a woman, like a child's voice. You hear nothing on my radio. So I go up to the counter, and I ask Bob, who's working there. I said, is that radio off? He said, yeah, and picks it up, and it's off. And I turn or whatever, and all of a sudden you hear Michelle on her radio, not my radio. She goes into the ticket booth, and she hears, Michelle, is that you? I know it's you. Oh. And she calls me on the radio, comes through just fine. So my radio's working.
Right.
And she hates when she hears that story being told because it just still freaks her out.
I bet.
But it's that kind of stuff that we've just consistently had happen. And some of it is just like that, where you're not on a ghost hunt. You're just, it's like they're coming out to say hi.
Right.
But we've caught other things on the cameras. During a ghost hunt, there was a team. They had set up their monitors in the back of the auditorium. They had a camera behind the stage, and we have a security camera in the same spot. And as I'm talking to the lead guy, I see a shadow move on one of the monitors. I said, did you guys see that? So they went and rewound, and you see on their camera a shadow. There's nobody back there. So I go check our security camera, same thing. So it was caught on both cameras, and there's nobody in that space. People get a lot of good EVPs when they bring in equipment, lots of activity with REM pods, with cat balls, music boxes. We believe we have a child spirit where, as you're facing the stage on the left-hand side, that's where we believe the child spirit is. We've got a picture that somebody took from a group out of Illinois, and I like to give them credit. Normal Paranormal took the picture. They're shooting photos down the back of the auditorium, and they showed me this, and it looks like a little boy, blonde hair, eyes, nose, mouth, everything. And we get constant activity with the music box in that corner, with the cat balls, and it's just, pointed at a solid wall or a solid curtain, and it's just consistent. It's like a consistent area.
Right.
And you said it earlier, but really, I feel like the whole theater is a hotspot. I feel like anything can happen anywhere, and it has.
Well, when we were there, you took us up to the projection room, and we talked about the handprint on the little child's handprint on the glass there, which, I mean, the only way to get to that glass would be to crawl up on the, I think the little awning thing that you guys have right there, just below the projector room, or to be in the projector room itself. But yeah, I mean, when you start talking about the little kid, that's the first thing I flashed back to was you talking about the handprint on that glass.
Yeah, it's somebody we kept telling people don't clean it, and somebody finally cleaned it. I'm like, we probably need to get the dust off there eventually.
Yeah, you might want it cleaned up a little bit for the actual movie stuff, but people would understand. I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they would. So when we were there, we talked a little bit about the train accident because we think maybe Brian actually was talking to one of the girls that would maybe have been in that had been in that train accident. Do you remember that, like a cheerleader or something?
It was the train crash was in 1907.
Okay.
And two trains collided head to head. It was basically across the way from the theater on the main highway there. And there were women, children, adult men, so 25 people died. I think it was 11 of them were burned alive. Oh. So it was a horrific, accident. Any train crash would be, not good, but so it's very possible.
Yeah.
And we've kind of wondered, and I don't remember if it was you all that did a little bit of research, but we kind of wondered, with it being a hotel at the time, did they bring some of the bodies over there? Did they bring people over there? Because the hospitals were, I think, 20, 30 minutes either. Well, it's probably longer back then because cars didn't go as fast.
Right.
Again, we don't have any record of that, so we can't claim that is the case.
Right.
But if you speculate, that's what I would do. Say, I need some place to put these people. You got a bunch of beds over here.
Oh, absolutely. That was my first thought was, you talked about when the theater was built compared to the hotel being there and the train crash being that early. I would see what they would take them to the hotel since it was standing at that time. I'm right.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm trying to look at my dates. I tried to do a little bit. So not only is the theater a hot spot, but you guys do let me pump the brakes on that. You guys into your fifth, is this going to be the 5th year for the Freak Out at the Fowler? Is the 6th? Yeah, the 6th year for the Freak Out at the Fowler. And you guys offer a walking ghost tour in the evening, right?
Yeah, we'll do it all day. We also do it for all the Halloween weekend.
Okay.
And it's a walk through town, just kind of pointing out and talking about the different locations and the history. Not all of it's paranormal. So even though we call it the haunted walking tour, a lot of it is historical. We're just talking about the different locations. Most of it is focused on paranormal, but we really want to talk up the history of the location as well.
Can you give us a little bit of a breakdown of some of the places? I know that one of them you talked about is the murder house.
Yeah. So if we were to walk down 5th Street from the theater, the first place we pass is the old opera house. So it's still standing. It's not in the same shape as it was when it was an opera house, but we did some ghost hunts there. The people had reported, voices, shadows. So we actually got some activity there. We've had different ghost hunting groups in that space. It was part of our first Freak Out. It's gone through new different ownership, so we don't have access to it now. But in 2014, there's a house on the corner that's further down 5th Street. There was a woman that lived there, and somebody did a wellness call on her. The police got there. They saw her slumped over in her chair, so they entered the house. They found out that she was dead. In the course of some of this investigation, her missing boyfriend, they found him dead in a storage locker in Chicago. So she had killed him. And in the back of the house, they found her mother in a trash can. She'd cut her up and put her in a trash can.
Oh my goodness.
So that's the murder house.
That's the murder house.
The guy that sold it, we told him, like, if he can sell that house, he can sell any house.
Wow.
He's got talent.
Yeah. Then we go down toward where the courthouse is. We talk about the history of the courthouse. We mentioned that further down 5th Street, it's a little far to walk for like a short tour.
Right.
There's the original house that was built for Moses Fowler. So the town was named after Moses Fowler. And we've done some ghost hunts there. We got a pretty good EVP in there. The history there was that one of the owners following Moses Fowler, Gustav Pratt, in 1932 or 6, he died of mysterious causes. His maid was thought to be the person that killed him, but he died down in Martinsville, so it really wasn't, in the house. But he died of mercury poisoning. Nobody really knows exactly how that happened. But at some point, when they read the will, she was on the will for getting the house.
Oh.
So it just kind of like,
Murder.
Right. Yeah, small towns have a lot of big secrets. But then we go down to the jail, and we talk about the history of the jail. In the town itself, and that's where I would usually talk about that point in history where the town was formed in 1872. The courthouse was built in 1874 under some controversy. So it was supposed to be the county seat was supposed to be in Oxford, Indiana. Moses Fowler owned a lot of land, was very powerful, very wealthy. He was somehow able to convince them to move all of that to Fowler. And so instead of building the courthouse where they were going to, so there's a big town square, but no courthouse, they basically built it over at Fowler. So then with the courthouse, you need a jail. So in 1876, they built the jail. And then we talk about the paranormal history of the jail. The biggest thing that made the presses was in 1883, Jacob Nelling was accused of murdering a 15-year-old girl from a prominent family. Some people busted him out of jail, took him about 100 yards from the family's home, and they lynched him in front of the family's home. And we actually have a photograph of that. We found that in Historical Society. It was really cool. We were doing a ghost hunt there, which is another haunted location. And we were going through like an old photo album at the end of the night. We found pictures of the train crash, and then we found a picture of Jacob Nelling standing there, his head to the side, people standing around him, and they basically had taken him out.
Right.
Then we go down to the Historical Society. We talk about ghost hunts we've done there. So it's the Historical Society, but it's also a museum. They have a lot of items in there that they've just taken in from wherever, typically from the county. But when we got invited to do a ghost hunt, it was because they would hear things, see things move. And so we went through the whole place, and it is super active. But there's concerns about opening it up to the public. Things are too easily grabbable and walked off with.
Right.
We did have an incident that once before, so it was always made us very cautious. But we got some great footage of what, in a section, people would say they saw the lady in a dress. There's a lady in a white dress they would see from the outside in that particular window. I left the camera running while we were doing the ghost hunt, and you see what looks like a white mist kind of swirl out of the ceiling, move a little bit side to side, and swirl back up. And I thought, well, it's probably a car going by. We tried to debunk it with cars, and we could not replicate that same look. We got a child's voice, lots of REM pod activity. And in the military room where we went to just check out some things, we found an Army Airborne helmet. So we picked it up. Underneath the Army Airborne helmet was a World War II Nazi helmet. And it had dings and dents in it. We're like, well, if you want some evil, there's some right there.
Yeah.
And then, and we had some good K2 activity on that. Like you'd put a cat ball on, well, I think it was a cat ball. Maybe it was both of them, K2 and a cat ball. But you put it on the side of the swastika, it would light up. And it would just like react. You put it on the other side, it would just not do anything. But the best thing we got there was the first time I ever investigated. We were doing our walkthrough. They take us into a room that has 3 dolls and a Ouija board. The Ouija board was from 1940 something.
No dolls.
Wow.
No dolls.
And the interesting piece of the Ouija board was, so it's pre-World War II. On the left-hand side is a swastika. On the right-hand side is a Star of David. Now, the swastika is a symbol of peace. That's been that way prior to Hitler's bastardization of the swastika. But obviously, he took it to a whole new level of hate and evil. But historically, that's pretty cool to have that kind of artifact.
Right.
But the dolls were donated from a woman. One doll, really nice, well done, her mom made. Another doll looked like a kid and made it. He did. He was 9 years old when he made it. And the director at the time, she said that when the woman brought it in, her brother said, on his deathbed said, when I pass, would you please destroy that doll? And she didn't. She donated it to the museum. So we don't know why he wanted it destroyed or not. But during the walkthrough, we're hearing about the history of the museum. I don't see it in the moment, but I say something negative about the doll. I just said it's a creepy ass looking doll or something. And then I'm going back through my footage, and when I say that, the doll jerks backwards.
Oh my!
That's like one of my favorite things we've captured.
Yeah, I would say so. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Although dolls.
But anyway, that's our walk on the tour with the virtual stops and everything. But I have put out a request for any other stories. Somebody gave me a little bit of a history on the house they lived in, but I'd like to get other locations to be a part of our walk if anybody's willing to do that. We have one owner, and I won't mention which building and who she is. She's been hesitant because she's trying to sell the building, and she doesn't want to give the impression that it's not habitable.
Right.
So I get that. I respect that.
Absolutely.
But we're always looking for anything else that people want to share. Because when I started My Haunted Fowler, which is my social media presence, all of a sudden I started getting messages. Hey, did you know about? Hey, did you hear about? Did anybody ever talk to you about this? Or please don't use my name, but that happened quite a bit.
They want to stay anonymous.
Yeah.
Just going through some of the stuff that I just kind of touched on while I was researching. I mean, Fowler is a very, in general, the entire town has got a lot of hotspots in it. I mean, and rightfully so. We're talking about, the jail was built in 1876. What year did you say that Marcus Fowler? Moses. I was close. See, I'm fucking terrible at names. What year did you say he built the first house?
So so there were other houses there prior to. So in 1872 is when they plotted the town itself. So when you become an official town, you have to do a plotting and all of this. So that's when it became an official town in 1872. But prior to that, there were buildings there. There were houses there. Might have been. I'm trying to think. 1840 might have been when Benton County was established. It was around that time frame where 1840-ish, I think, where the line between Indiana and the Native American territories stopped. So, it like every place else in America, it was Native American, then it was not. So it didn't become Fowler, Indiana, until 1872.
1872. So basically what I'm saying is you've got this town has a very, very, very long history, and, a lot of things happened in it. And I was explaining to my buddy Billy Bob a little bit ago about, about the Fowler Theatre and all that stuff. And that Fowler's really not that big of a town. We grew up here, right next to Bourbon. I would say it was probably about the same size as Bourbon. When you think there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Lots of things going on in your town down there. I'm just amazed as the more and more I learn about Fowler, about how much paranormal activity throughout that entire town you guys have.
Yeah. And honestly, so I'm 58, not afraid to tell you. When I moved to Fowler, I've had an interest in the paranormal, cryptozoology, everything since I was a little kid. And I had never had any experiences. I never went on a ghost hunt. I never did anything like this. We moved to Fowler. We moved into the house we're in, built in 1974, not that long ago. And before I even started doing anything with the theater, we had activity in this house.
Really?
And, shadows, my boys would tell me when they were little at the time, but they would hear their names being said in the vents. The one of the first times I remember was my wife and I were watching TV. She leans back and yells, "Go to bed." I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "One of the boys are up." I said, "No, that's the noise I hear all the time in the kitchen after you all go to bed." So that really started to freak her out. We've had one night we were laying in bed. There were 3 knocks on our bedroom door. I thought it was one of my sons. I said, "Yeah, come on in." Nobody came in. I went to the door. Nobody was there. Both of them were sound asleep in their bedrooms, and the dog was sound asleep in the front. So I don't know where it starts and where it stops in Fowler, but it just feels like there's a lot of activity. And I will mention, there's a Catholic church in town, and it's got a parochial school. And my boys went there for a while, and where the nuns used to stay, everybody said it was haunted. I didn't have any experiences, but people would report doors opening, footsteps on the stairs. Yeah, so it's just, that's why I started my Haunted Fowler. I feel like there's a lot going on here. We got Capone history, like most of Northwest Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. Oh, everybody's got Capone history. But then you think, are their bodies buried? I mean, one of his guys bought 800 acres of farmland in 1938, by the time the theater was built. So I don't know. Maybe there's something under that 800 acres of land.
What is the population of Fowler?
About 2,200.
2,200.
We definitely need to compare that to Bourbon and see what we're looking at as far as that goes. Because I'm thinking it's not. It's about the same. All right. So October 4th, 2025. Is it official?
Yes.
It is official. The Freak Out at the Fowler. What do you guys got coming in so far this year? I know that like last year, Oracle Black was there. What else you guys got going on? Have you started that process yet?
So we'll still have vendors. We are going to use this year's theme to honor the jail. So what we're going to do is we're going to run any investigation footage that we can get from anybody that's investigated, our own stuff, and we're just going to run that. We haven't figured out the cadence yet. We're going to run it in the theater, kicking around the idea of maybe a panel discussion at some point with some people that have investigated, maybe showing our documentary on the jail that had its own controversy. I don't know if I shared that with you, but
no.
When we showed the documentary, a woman stood up in the middle of it and was angry, just very angry. Well, she was niece, great niece, I guess, of the girl that was killed. And she said everything that we were showing wasn't true. And the guy that's her cousin who was giving us this information was the black sheep of the family and a liar and this and that and the other. And of course he says that about her, that she's too high strung, yada, yada, yada. And so we're like, okay, we'll come back. We'd like to interview you and we'll update the documentary. We never heard back from her.
Right.
So I don't know if I want to show it again and cause more friction, but, or we can edit that part in and just say there are differing viewpoints within the family. Right. But all we had to work with was what your cousin had said. And we had no reason. He lives on the land, or I think he still lives on the land where the house used to be. So anyway, we'll still do walking tours. Well, like I said, we'll have vendors. And it's Oracle Pink, actually.
Oh, God, I did. I got it wrong, didn't I?
That's okay.
I said black. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, all my friends out there in Tucson land, I am horrible with names.
But she's offered to come back and do what she did before. What we wanted to do initially was have her do a reading, but then we were going to live stream it while she went from location to location in the theater, and also project it up on the big screen. But we only had like 5 people show up. So we did an impromptu, more intimate session with a few people that were there.
Right on. Well, I'd like to throw Tusop into the ring. We would love to have a vendor table down there with you guys this year. Okay. Can we get in on it? Will you put our name in there?
Yeah, what I'll be doing is posting the sign up form probably this week. We've been debating. So with any event, it's so hard to find a good date because something else is going on all the time. So what we landed on was staying away from the Feast of the Hunter's Moon. That's a huge thing here at Lafayette. And we also stayed away from this popcorn festival that's in Brookston, Indiana. So we think we've got the right date, but I can guarantee you something's going to come up between now and then that we'll compete with. But, you go with it and you see what you can do.
Absolutely.
And we'll get that posted. And it is a fundraiser. We want people to understand that we want it to be fun and enjoyable and educational, learn about the paranormal. But when we ask for a couple bucks on a walking tour or whatever, it does go right back into the theater. We're not, like our vendors that sell food. We don't take money from them. They keep all their money. And we're not charging them a fee, but donations and stuff like that. Just again, it all goes back to the theater.
Absolutely. Well, I know that me and Brian had talked back and forth, and I know we want to come down. We want to try to do a live podcast from down there during the event. So we're going to kind of brainstorm on that a little bit. But I just saw it come up this week that for October 4th, which works out really good for us with all the things we've kind of got fallen at the end of September and then the end of October. So hopefully in your shift, it doesn't shift too far, and into September. Cause I know you guys kind of like September, early October for all of that. So
yeah, it's October 4th. We're not changing it at this point.
Okay. It's perfect. You're dialed in. Okay. Yeah. I thought maybe he said there might be a shift. You just never know.
Oh, no. I probably did. So what we're doing too, and just a quick plug for March of 2026. What we were trying to do was squeeze in our very first film festival too.
Oh,
so we're not going to be able to do that. It's just too much in that short period of time. So March, and I have to look at the date. We'll start publicizing that, but we want to do our very first film festival. So that's just something just to throw out there that, we're trying to be creative. We're trying to get more attention to Fowler. We want people to have something fun to do and enjoyable. Right. And, film festival is kind of cool.
Oh, I love film festivals. I don't ever get to them, but I love that, cause we've been involved in one, God, years and years ago. I had a band member that made a movie and, I, had a role in it, and then we recorded the entire soundtrack for it. So we had a lot to do with it, but, being able to go and see and, yourself on the big screen and doing the Q&A afterwards. It's just a really cool experience.
Yeah. And we thought too, if we do it, we've got a good population over Purdue, a lot of students that some programs that might be interested in that. And, we try to play up the whole relationship with Purdue and Fowler. Moses Fowler and John Purdue actually came to Lafayette to go into the mercantile business together. And then Moses Fowler went west and created Fowler, and John Purdue stayed back and created that little school called Purdue. Right. So there's that connection. There's a Fowler. Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah. They got Fowler Hall on campus. It's named after his wife from their donations. So, we want to make that connection too, that we're part of this bigger community.
Right. Absolutely. Anything else you want to talk about? My Haunted Fowler on Facebook. Go check it out. Of course, FowlerTheatre.com. So, there's links and they all interact with each other. So you can get to one and get to the other through all of this. But, if you go to My Haunted Fowler on Facebook, you can definitely keep up with what Dwight's working on. And, you'll definitely know more about, the freak out that's coming up. Like I said, I do believe that's where I saw that you had posted a date for the Porsche. So
yes.
Super excited. But yeah, I'll look for the sign up sheet. Tusop would love to come down and hang out for the day and be a part of the freak out this year, since we weren't able to last year.
That'd be awesome. We've the first year we did it was awesome. We had news coverage. We had great turnout. And then a year later we had COVID, and it just kind of took it off the rails.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're getting some momentum back.
Right on. Well, it'll be fun for us to be able to talk about it all year going as we build up into it in October from here being the 1st of April. So it'll be fun for us to be talking about it the entire year. So, did you guys, just one last thing before I get into it, you guys did dang it, I didn't write it down. You guys just did a Paracon of some sort a couple weeks ago, right?
So Northwest Indiana, Cedar Lake is the name of the town. There is and I'm going to get this wrong, Great Oaks Banquet Hall. So I was invited to speak up there about the Fowler Theatre and about Fowler, Indiana. Pete Greist, I don't know if you know Pete or not.
I have not met Pete, no.
Okay. He also spoke, as well as the woman who owns the Crown Point Jail, which that is an awesome jail. If you ever get a chance to go there, I've only been there once, and it was super active. Their big claim to fame is John Dillinger broke out of there.
Right.
So the three of us spoke that night.
Nice. It looked like Northwest had a big table full of gear and stuff out there from what I could see.
Yeah, Pete likes to buy toys. He's got a lot of stuff.
I don't blame him. I love toys too. Can I have more toys?
No.
Oh shit. Okay, I guess I'm out of luck.
But I'll plug Pete though too. He also is leads a group at the Griffith High School.
Mm-hmm.
He started a paranormal group for the students, which I thought was really cool. And they've been down to the theater and the jail a lot of times.
I think when we originally met Brian, he talked about that a little bit, and we thought that was amazing. We would have loved to had something like that in the school with us when we went to school. I mean, just something different, your art club and your band stuff and your music stuff, but something different besides just your normal everyday stuff would have been really cool. So I think it's a great piece that they've added down there. All right, Dwight, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm going to get you out so you can, I don't know, has the storm passed you yet? I mean...
Oh, no, it's still rocking and rolling out there.
Well, I'm going to let you go so you can kind of watch over it and see what's going on as we prep for it to come our way, because it's not too far. You're not too far away from us, so it's heading in this direction. But man, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on and doing the pod with us.
You're welcome, and thank you.
Yes.
We always look forward to hearing from you. So keep us up to date. And like I said, I'll keep an eye out for that sign-up sheet. And once again, go to fowlertheatre.com and donate, guys. Donate for the new roof. They're going to get a match. So whatever you donate, they're going to get matched. I mean, think about that.
$5.
Go get it done.
If we had enough people give just $5, it'd be real easy to not hurt someone's pocketbook and still reach our goal.
Exactly. All right, Dwight, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Rocker Chick, you have anything you want to say on the way out?
I don't.
All right.
Very interesting.
Well, until next week, everybody, keep it spooky, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the United States of Paranormal podcast. Check us out at theunitedstatesofparanormal.com, where you can find our Spotlight of the Month, Fan of the Month, and all of our amazing merchandise. Or you can find us on social media at Facebook at the United States of Paranormal, Instagram at the United States of Paranormal, and YouTube at the United States of Paranormal 1795. And don't forget, we are now on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/2sop.
Please check out the other podcasts in the Golden Mojo Entertainment Network of podcasts. The Call Guys, Golden Image Podcast, Indiana Chiefs Fans, Golden 80s, The Gridiron Kings, Murd Nerds, and A Quart of Books and Booze, all of which can be found at goldenmojoent.com or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts.
And if you have a location or a story that you would like for us to check into, please email us at theunitedstatesofparanormal@gmail.com. Please like, rate, and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you for all of your support. Bye.